Hi everyone. Thanks for your patience last week and thanks for your patience with this video. I have been sick and still am, but on the mend now, mainly just still dealing with some coughing and voice issues. So I apologize for not having a whole voice, but we're getting there. So I apologize for not being quite as quickly responsive and maybe not as much in the discussion board posting as normal. But I did just want to take a few moments to go through some of the quiz questions and review from last week. So last week, let me hop over to the classroom here. um, so last week we talked a little bit about the industry overall and specifically what I was getting at with our Flipgrid last week was thinking about your personal healthcare choices. So why do you go to the provider, or why would you make a choice? It was interesting because I've taught this class a few times now, and typically when people answer that discussion question, they'll say, well, when I choose a physician, or when I choose a hospital, here's what I do. I go out to I'll go out to the internet and I'll research. I'll look at Yelp, or I'll look at health grades, or I'll look at I'll look at the star ratings. Um, but it seemed that a lot of people talked specifically about insurers, which is fine too. It's well within the scope of the question. So it was interesting to see a different tact taken. And perfectly well within the scope of what we were talking about, but it kind of shows a different that we're kind of going a different way, and that our insurance buying behavior is driving our consumer overall, our healthcare consumer behavior. And instead of focusing so much on um, okay, what physician are we going to pick, we're thinking about, okay, what insurer are we going to pick, and then that's going to likely drive our physician choice, especially in the Western Pennsylvania area, because that really does help to drive that. So interesting. Interesting way we answered that question. But the focus was really okay, think about our personal healthcare choices. Why do we make them? How do we make them? What motivates us? And then, in thinking about that, um, now, now, and this wasn't part of the question, but um, what we want to do is, okay, think like a marketer. That's what marketers do. Marketers will take that information. They may talk to focus groups. They may talk to do polls, surveys with patients, and get that information. Okay, what do you think about before you choose an insurance, or before you choose a provider? What is important to you? And those are the things that they'll use in their marketing. So that's why that was an important question to ask. What else? Our slogans. So I haven't started to look at that yet, but an interesting obviously lots and lots of slogans to look at in that assignment, and I look forward to seeing which slogans you thought were interesting and why you thought they were interesting. It's always interesting to see some people tend to go towards certain types of slogans versus other people, so it's always interesting to see what types of slogans people like. So I do want to go over the quiz questions. There's a couple of them that I'm going to give back to you. They didn't perform well statistically, and they were just kind of crappy questions overall. So I'm going to give them back. The first one was, what influences the likelihood that an individual will seek care? So the answers were, there were 4 different answers. The correct answer was personal characteristics, but which was in the text, but I can see how some of those other answers could be correct as well. So So I'll give everyone credit for that question. That was just not a great question, and it didn't perform well statistically. The other question that I'm going to give you back is, if I can pick up this paper, who or what plays the central role in determining healthcare decisions for families? And the answers were father, mother, insurance, and socioeconomic status. And this also didn't perform well statistically, and the answer is correct. The correct answer was mother. So between mother and father, mother was the accurate answer. However, I can certainly say with certainty that socioeconomic status will play into healthcare decision making for families. Insurance can play into healthcare decision making for families, and there was really nothing in the text that I saw, at least at my glance this morning, and I didn't scour it, but that said that by all certainty that it was mom that trumped all over insurance or socioeconomic status as the central decision making. I mean, obviously she's going to make the decision, but she's going to take those things into account. So I just didn't like that question, and then outside of that, it didn't tend to perform terribly well. So I'm going to give that one back to you as well. But do keep in mind that it does tend to be the mother of the family. Females tend to make it doesn't have to be the mother. It just tends to be the female of the family that makes the healthcare decisions for the family. So that's always important to keep in mind. So the other questions. Geographical variations in health services utilization are due to variation in illness patterns. I was going to grab my book out here. And that was false. Let me move this over here. And it does talk in the textbook about a study, specifically about a study about marked differences in surgical procedures amongst different towns, and how it said this study, as well as numerous others, followed that the differences in surgical procedures across different towns were not due to differences in illness patterns. And this is in the section of the textbook where it talks about physician-induced demand. I apologize. So the answer to this question, geographical variations in health service utilization are due to variation in illness patterns. So the answer was false. And the reason this is false is because a lot of times these geographical variations tend to be due to physician-induced demand or provider-induced demand. So geographical variations in utilization are due to the actual provider practice patterns in that area. So this group of providers may practice in a way that utilizes more services than, say, providers in this other geographic area who utilize less services. So this notion of provider-induced demand creates these higher use services in one geographic area versus another geographic area. It's not necessarily that there are more sick people in, say, Pittsburgh than in Harrisburg. It's just that the docs, and I'm not saying that there's more utilization here than there, just as a point of reference. So let's say there's more utilization here in Pittsburgh than in Harrisburg per capita, but it doesn't mean that there's more sick people here. It just means that the physicians here are using more services. So that is this notion of provider-induced demand, and that happens all over the country. So that is why that answer is false. And that's been played out in research over and over and over. Social marketing, the next question. Social marketing plays an important part in, and the correct answer is elimination of risky behaviors. So, social marketing, and don't confuse this with social media marketing. Social marketing is a concept that we'll talk a little bit about as we move through the class. Social marketing is really a concept of a marketing campaign or marketing where you're doing marketing, but it is not just to market your product, but also to promote a social good, to promote a something that's overall to improve the social good, to improve the community. So, for example, let's say that your organization is looking to promote a breast health campaign. So you want to have a campaign that is about going out to get mammograms. So you have some kind of maybe you do some commercials, you have some social media stuff, you have all this stuff surrounding this campaign about going to get mammograms. Now, this is likely going to bring people in to get mammograms at your organization, but hopefully it's going to drive people to get mammograms, period. So this is considered social marketing. It's eliminating risky behaviors. It's hopefully getting people out there, getting to their organization. It might be yours or it might be wherever they go, but it's like, hey, get out, get your mammogram, make sure you're healthy, etc. So those types of campaigns where you're not just marketing for yourself, hey, come to my hospital, but you're also marketing for the social good, are what are known as social marketing. So social marketing plays an important part in the elimination of risky behaviors, and it does talk about that in the textbook. And the next one, the unsatisfactory performance of the U.S. healthcare system is due to the fact that it is largely in private hands and relies on competition to create positive health outcomes. This is true or false? And the answer is false. And again, it talks about this in the textbook. It talks about some evidence-based background. It talks about research that does not support that conclusion. Specifically, I'll just read the quote. It says, extensive research into quality of care in different countries yields no conclusive findings that one system is better or worse than others. Quality does not necessarily vary with financing mechanisms. So the notion that we have a privately funded healthcare system that is based on competition does not play into the fact that we have issues with quality. We do have issues with quality, but that's not what drives our issues with quality. So there's something else behind that, and we need to discover what that is. I think we have some ideas of what's related to that, but so in this case, the statement there about the notion that the unsatisfactory performance is related to our financing system, the answer to that is false. Okay, sorry about that. My family has a knack of texting me every time I'm recording a video. So, for this week, a couple things I wanted to focus on. You're going to be doing a SWOT analysis as your written assignment. So your SWOT analysis, you want to do that on your place of employment if you're currently working somewhere, or a place where you'd like to be employed if you're not currently working somewhere. You can choose anywhere. So this is based on your opinion. If you're working somewhere, if it's not somewhere where you're working, take a look at the website. Maybe it's a place that you visited as a patient, and give your thoughts on strengths, weaknesses. It's just to give yourself an idea of what it's like to go through a SWOT analysis. Obviously, you can, if you're familiar with the marketplace, you can get an idea of opportunities and threats. You can kind of scan the marketplace through internet search, etc. The other thing that you're going to be doing this week is submitting your topic for your final project. You're going to be submitting in week 5, you'll be submitting a draft, and in week 7, you'll be submitting the final draft. So you'll be submitting that topic this week, though. So that's all that I have. If you have any questions, please let me know. And again, I appreciate your patience with my voice and my illness. Hopefully, I'm on the mend now. And again, if there's anything I can do, please let me know. Thanks so much.